Ryan's eyes went wide with shock as he spotted a massive creature thrashing frantically in the dark depths of the well, water splashing in every direction. Instinctively, he fumbled for his phone, switched on the flashlight, and aimed it downward. When the beam finally landed on the figure below, his breath caught in his throat. It wasn't just any animal, it was a leopard. Its large, piercing eyes reflected the light back at him, filled with desperation. The animal was filthy, its fur matted with dirt and mud, and it looked utterly drained of energy, clinging to survival by a thread. Ryan's heart raced. He knew he couldn't just stand there and do nothing. If he didn't act fast, the leopard wouldn't make it. His gaze darted around, searching for anything that might help. A few wooden planks lay scattered nearby, but when he tested their length, none reached far enough to make a difference. Frustrated but undeterred, he sprinted toward the abandoned house looming nearby. Surely, there had to be something left behind. Maybe a ladder. He pushed open the creaky door and ventured inside, heading straight for the basement. The air was stale, filled with the scent of decay, and the dim light revealed little more than rats scurrying about and tools rusted beyond use. Disappointed, Ryan made his way back up. As he moved through the eerie, forgotten halls, his eyes landed on a small shed tucked away in what used to be the backyard. Hope sparked in his chest, and he bolted toward it, shoving open the door with a forceful thrust. Inside, cobwebs hung like drapes, and the space was coated in years of dust. But Ryan ignored it all. He spotted what he needed, a long, sturdy rope coiled in the corner. Finally, he muttered to himself, snatching it up and racing back to the well. The gravity of what he was about to do weighed on him. Climbing into a well wasn't just risky, it was downright reckless. To make matters worse, he had no idea how the leopard would react. Would it see him as a threat? But there was no time to second guess. He tied one end of the rope securely around a nearby post and fastened the other around his waist. His plan was clear. He'd played it over and over in his mind on the way back. Taking a deep breath, Ryan let the rope drop into the well. The sound of it hitting the water echoed faintly. Gripping the rope tightly, he braced himself and began his descent. The rough fibers bit into his palms almost immediately, sending sharp stabs of pain through his hands. He knew he'd be nursing rope burns later, but he kept going. Slowly, carefully, inch by inch, he made his way down. He hadn't gotten far when his phone buzzed in his pocket. The vibration startled him, but he ignored it at first. This wasn't exactly the time for a conversation. But then, it buzzed again and again, the insistent hum tugging at his thoughts. What if it was important? What if someone was trying to warn him about something? Ryan hesitated, his mind torn. Finally, he sighed. There was a slim chance it was an emergency, but he couldn't risk it. Wrapping the rope securely around his wrist, he steadied his feet and let go with one hand. His muscles screamed in protest, but he managed to fish the phone out of his pocket. Just as he got a grip on it, his fingers betrayed him, and the phone slipped free, plummeting into the water below with a sickening splash. The noise startled the leopard, which let out a deep, guttural growl. "Damn it," Ryan muttered, panic setting in as he realized the sound only made the situation worse. The vibration from the phone underwater was still faintly audible, but retrieving it was impossible now. He had no choice but to keep climbing down. Taking a steadying breath, he gripped the rope with both hands again, though his fingers throbbed and his arms felt like lead. His legs trembled, not just from exertion, but from the rising tension as he drew closer to the leopard. Every instinct told him how dangerous this was. One wrong move, and the animal could lash out. But as he approached, the leopard's labored breaths told him everything. It was too exhausted to do much of anything. Its massive paws clung to the stone wall, claws digging into the rock with a tenacity born of survival. Watching the scene, Ryan was grateful those claws weren't meant for him. When his feet finally touched the water, he exhaled a shaky breath. It rose to his hips, higher than he had expected. The chill sent shivers coursing through him, but there was no turning back now. As Ryan stood knee-deep in the frigid water, a sharp realization struck him like a jolt of lightning. This entire plan was beyond reckless. How could he possibly convince a wild leopard to let him tie a rope around its body and hoist it to safety? And even if he managed that improbable feat, how would he summon the strength to climb back up himself? His arms already trembled with fatigue from the descent, his muscles aching and his breath short. Yet he pressed forward, inching toward the leopard with deliberate caution, careful not to provoke it. His heart pounded, a chaotic rhythm of fear and determination. Each movement was calculated, every step slow and measured, as he worked to avoid startling the exhausted animal. Speaking in a calm, low voice, Ryan projected as much reassurance as he could muster. The icy water lapping at his legs sent shivers coursing through his body, a chilling reminder of the precariousness of the situation. Their eyes met, a raw, unspoken exchange passing between man and beast in the dim, damp darkness. Ryan moved closer, his eyes locked with the leopard's. It felt almost as if they were sharing thoughts, an unspoken understanding of the danger binding them. He softened his gaze, silently promising safety, while the leopard's piercing eyes seemed to weigh his sincerity, probing the depths of his intent. Respecting the animal's space, Ryan stopped short, observing its tense posture, while his mind raced for a solution to save them both. His movements were painstakingly gentle as he scanned his surroundings, searching for any tool, any advantage in this desperate situation. He was acutely aware of how one wrong move could shatter the fragile trust between them. Raising his hand with his palm facing down, he offered a universal sign of peace. A slight nod accompanied the gesture, his body language speaking volumes in an effort to bridge the gap between predator and human. To his cautious relief, the leopard's rigid stance eased, if only slightly. Its breaths, still heavy, grew less frantic, a tentative acknowledgement of Ryan's harmless intent. This subtle shift fueled his resolve, a flicker of hope igniting his determination. He wasn't just fighting for his own survival anymore. He was committed to saving this awe-inspiring creature as well. A sudden thought struck him. His phone. If he could retrieve it, perhaps he could call for help. His hands plunged into the murky water, blindly feeling along the slimy, cold bottom. Each swipe brought nothing but rocks and unrecognizable debris, his heart sinking with every fruitless attempt. Failure wasn't an option, not now. Gritting his teeth, he continued the desperate search, driven by sheer willpower. Finally, against all odds, his fingers grazed a familiar shape. With a surge of relief, he grasped the device and lifted it from the water, holding his breath as he pressed the power button. To his astonishment, the screen flickered weakly but unmistakably to life. The phone was a small miracle. Without wasting another second, Ryan dialed emergency services. The line clicked and a calm voice answered, "911, what's your emergency?" "I'm in a well," Ryan said quickly, his voice tight with urgency. "There's a leopard down here with me. It's exhausted and needs help." "A leopard?" The dispatcher's tone sharpened slightly. "Are you injured?" "No, but I can't stay down here much longer," Ryan replied, glancing at the animal's heaving chest. "Please, just send help fast." "Rescue is on the way," the dispatcher assured him. "Hang tight and keep as still as you can." Ryan nodded to himself, clinging to the dispatcher's steady words as the faint glow of his phone flickered in his trembling hand. Clutching the phone like an anchor to sanity, he leaned into the reassurance it provided, his only tangible link to the world beyond the well. Despite the darkness shrouding the well, Ryan sensed the leopard's protectiveness, the way its body shielded something unseen below the surface. Its posture, tense yet deliberate, hinted at a deeper reason for its vigilance. Curiosity flickered through Ryan's mind, the mystery of what the leopard guarded only deepening as time wore on. The faint sound of sirens grew steadily louder, their wails cutting through the heavy silence like a distant promise of hope. The echo of the sirens cascaded down the stony walls of the well, filling it with a crescendo of expectation. The leopard stirred, its ears twitching in reaction to the unfamiliar intrusion of sound that broke their fragile sanctuary. As the noise grew closer, Ryan steadied himself, inhaling deeply to quiet the tempest of emotions swirling inside him. The moment to trust these unseen strangers was upon him. He had no choice but to place his faith in their hands, surrendering to their expertise in this critical rescue. Together, man and beast stood on the precipice of deliverance, waiting for the first tangible sign of salvation to appear above. The rescue team finally arrived, their voices crisp and purposeful as they began the meticulous process of setting up their equipment. "Ropes secure! Lower the harness!" one rescuer barked, his tone steady and authoritative, cutting through the tense air. The sharp clang of metal and shouted commands reverberated downward, a strange melody of urgency and order. Ryan gazed upward as ropes and pulleys were secured with practiced precision. A voice called down to him, firm yet reassuring. "Hang tight down there. We're coming for you and the leopard." The words resonated in the silence of the well, a lifeline of comfort in the chaos. The coordinated effort unfolded like a carefully choreographed dance, blending urgency with skill. Ryan allowed himself a faint smile, shouting back, "We're ready when you are. Just don't scare my friend here." Witnessing this professionalism filled him with a renewed sense of confidence, reminding him that help had truly come. As the team lowered equipment and personnel into the well, the operation commenced in earnest. Ryan stepped back, giving them the space they needed, his eyes never leaving their deliberate movements. Each person's descent felt like a step closer to salvation. His heart pounded with a mix of relief and anticipation, knowing the moment he and the leopard had been waiting for was finally here. Bright lights pierced the darkness, their beams scattering stark shadows across the damp walls. For the first time, the grim reality of their surroundings became painfully clear. The sudden burst of light startled the leopard, its wide eyes filled with alarm and disorientation. Sensing its fear, Ryan spoke softly, his voice a calming thread in the chaotic light. His own eyes adjusted slowly, squinting against the glare, but he stayed focused, following every instruction from the team. He carefully shifted into position, ensuring both he and the leopard were ready for the critical steps ahead. His voice, steady and reassuring, became a constant amid the flurry of movement, grounding the situation with his resolve. Failure was not an option. He was committed to seeing this through, for both their sakes. Above, the rescue team worked with tireless efficiency, transforming the chaotic scene into a controlled operation. They secured the well's perimeter, creating a safe zone to prevent further risks. Ryan watched in silent admiration, struck by the precision of their efforts. It was a stark contrast to the desperate, disorganized hours that had preceded this moment. With each careful maneuver, the well transformed from a site of danger into a fortress of safety, paving the way for their ascent to freedom. Amid the noise and the blaze of light, the leopard suddenly pressed itself against Ryan, seeking solace in his presence. Its trembling body leaned into him, an instinctive plea for reassurance that transcended its wild nature. Startled by this unexpected closeness, Ryan hesitated briefly before resting a gentle hand on the leopard's back. The animal's quiet whimpers stirred something protective deep within him, a fierce determination to shield this creature who had come to trust him in their shared adversity. In the chaos of the moment, a fragile sense of peace blossomed between them. Man and animal, united by fear and hope, found comfort in the bond forged through their ordeal. Their connection, born in the depths of despair, became a steadying force, a shared strength that carried them both as the rescue effort unfolded. They stood together, man and beast, bound by an unspoken alliance against the storm of chaos around them. In that fleeting moment, their distinctions blurred, replaced by a shared longing for solace. Ryan's voice, calm and steady despite the turmoil, carried words of comfort to the frightened leopard. "It's all right. We're safe now," he murmured, his tone low and reassuring. The leopard's eyes reflected a mix of uncertainty and trust, and slowly its tense form began to relax beneath Ryan's gentle touch. For a brief instant, an unspoken connection linked them, a fragile stillness amid the disorder. As they waited for the rescue team to take action, Ryan and the leopard found themselves caught in a peculiar harmony. What had once been a trap now felt like a sanctuary. The well seemed to cocoon them, shielding them from the chaos above. The leopard rested its head near Ryan's knee, their breaths steadying in the thick air. Two survivors, tethered by fate, stood at the brink of salvation. The team above worked swiftly, securing harnesses around Ryan and the leopard. Ryan moved with deliberate care, adjusting the straps as instructed, his every action measured to avoid alarming the creature. Despite its natural instincts, the leopard remained unexpectedly calm, as though it sensed this was the path to freedom. Together, man and beast were readied for the ascent, an extraordinary journey out of the shadows and into the light, driven by the shared hope of escape. As the operation progressed, the water around them shifted. A subtle motion in the murky depths drew Ryan's attention, his heartbeat quickening with a surge of apprehension. The leopard stiffened as well, its gaze fixed on the unseen shape. A wave of anticipation swept over them, every nerve attuned to the mystery beneath the surface. Ryan squinted into the gloom, his curiosity ignited by the enigmatic form. As the ripples settled, the object became clearer, a shadow within shadows, elusive yet compelling. Leaning closer, Ryan's mind raced with questions. What could this wild guardian have been protecting so fiercely? The truth hovered just out of reach, tantalizingly close. The team began to lift Ryan and the leopard. Each pull of the rope drew them closer to the surface, the journey painstaking but purposeful. Ryan's eyes locked onto the narrow opening above, where the promise of open sky and fresh air beckoned. Every inch upward felt like a triumph over the darkness, a step closer to the unknown that awaited beyond. As the well's edge grew near, the tension in the air grew thicker. Ryan's palms, slick with sweat, gripped the ropes tightly. Beside him, the leopard's body coiled with restless energy, sensing the impending change. Together, they hovered in a precarious balance between the danger below and the hope above. Then, as they reached the top, a beam of light pierced the gloom, revealing what the leopard had been guarding. Ryan's breath caught as his eyes adjusted to the sight. There, illuminated in the harsh light, was a small, trembling creature, a dog. Awe and disbelief surged through him as the revelation unfolded. In that moment, the story of their ordeal deepened, layered with a profound and unexpected meaning. "Oh shit, there's another puppy," a rescue worker couldn't help but exclaim. Gasps echoed from above as the rescue team caught sight of the tiny being. The leopard's fierce vigilance now made sense. Its protective stance was not random, but driven by an instinct to safeguard. The light cast its secret into stark relief. A delicate, vulnerable life. Ryan's heart pounded as he absorbed the significance of what lay before him. A flood of emotions washed over him and the rescue team. Astonishment mingled with empathy, and the stakes of their mission became even more poignant. With renewed urgency and care, they worked tirelessly to bring all three lives to safety. Ryan felt a wave of protectiveness wash over him, a deep resolve hardening within his chest. The rescue team, now acutely aware of the heightened stakes, moved with greater care. They weren't just fighting to save two lives anymore. there was a third precious soul in the balance. The discovery intensified their focus, each action carefully measured to avoid any further distress. Ryan stood by, a mixture of anxiety and hope etched on his face, watching as the team methodically worked through their plan. "Just a little more," Ryan murmured softly, his eyes flicking between the leopard and the small creature. "We're getting out of this, all of us." It was a fragile dance of survival, every movement deliberate, each step bringing them closer to a safe resolution. Ryan, the leopard, and the small creature ascended slowly, their fates intricately bound in this life-or-death moment. The journey upward was fraught with tension, each inch gained feeling like a hard-fought victory. Ryan kept his attention fixed on his companions, an unspoken connection forming through the shared experience. The promise of freedom drew nearer, the weight of their ordeal beginning to lift. At last, Ryan, the leopard, and the tiny creature broke through to the surface. The cool, fresh air hit Ryan's face like a blessing, and the sight of relieved faces greeted them. Cheers erupted from the rescue team, their voices carrying the joy and relief of triumph. Ryan took a deep breath, the crisp air easing the fatigue that had clung to him. The leopard, still by his side, seemed to sense the end of their ordeal. Together, they stepped into the daylight, leaving the darkness of the well behind. "You made it, buddy," Ryan whispered to the leopard, his voice filled with quiet awe. "We all made it." As Ryan emerged, the crowd's admiration engulfed him. Applause and cheers filled the air, a celebration of his bravery and quick thinking. Though his legs trembled from exhaustion, his heart swelled with quiet pride. What had begun as a desperate act of instinct had become a testament to courage, a story that now belonged to the community. Humbled by the gratitude surrounding him, Ryan stood as a silent hero, his actions speaking louder than any words ever could. After ensuring the leopard's safe transfer into care, Ryan shared a tender moment of farewell. Their eyes locked in a silent exchange, a wordless message of gratitude and understanding. He reached out, his hand brushing against the animal's fur in a final gentle gesture of companionship. "Take care of yourself out there," Ryan said softly, his voice steady despite the emotions threatening to rise. The leopard, once a symbol of fear and danger, was now etched into Ryan's story as a creature of shared survival and trust. As the details of the rescue unfolded, the community pieced together the astonishing story. The small creature, a tiny puppy named Charlie, had fallen into the well, only to be fiercely guarded by the leopard. The tale spread quickly, stirring awe and amazement among those who heard it. The extraordinary dynamic between predator and prey, bound together by circumstance, painted a poignant picture of life's unpredictability and the resilience of the will to survive. "That leopard protected him," someone in the crowd whispered, shaking their head in disbelief. "It's like it understood." The local community rallied around Ryan and the rescued animals. People offered help, shared kind words, and expressed deep admiration. The incident had sparked something profound, a collective sense of compassion and unity that brought people closer together. Ryan's fearless act, coupled with the remarkable bond between the leopard and Charlie, resonated deeply, reminding everyone of the interconnectedness of life. Conversations swirled with newfound reflections on empathy and the shared threads of existence, leaving an indelible mark on all who encountered the story. Ryan sat quietly, reflecting on the rescue that had reshaped his life in ways he never anticipated. The weight of that day's events lingered in his heart, leaving a mark that would not fade. He thought about the connections born in the shadows of the well, the raw moments of fear they shared, and the victorious emergence into the light. "It was like we were all in that dark place together," Ryan murmured to himself, his voice almost lost to the quiet evening air. It had been a trial like no other, a crucible that tested his resolve and revealed the profound power of courage and the bonds forged in adversity. The story of Ryan's bravery spread quickly, captivating people across towns and beyond. News outlets painted vivid pictures of the man who descended into danger to save not only a wild leopard, but also a tiny, trembling pup. Ryan, the man who would not let fear decide his fate, or theirs, they wrote. The image of Ryan climbing out of the well, carrying the weight of 2 lives and the spirit of compassion, became a beacon of hope in a world often starved of such inspiring tales. Communities rallied around Ryan, and animal welfare organizations praised his selflessness. Ceremonies were held, accolades were showered upon him, and each gesture of recognition only deepened his humility. Standing amidst the applause, Ryan felt a mixture of pride and disbelief. His impromptu act of heroism had turned him into a symbol of resilience and humanity, a role he embraced with quiet gratitude. "I didn't do this for the praise," he'd say when asked. "I just did what needed to be done." Determined to honor the bond he had formed in the well, Ryan decided to adopt Charlie, the puppy whose frightened eyes had pleaded for help that fateful day. He welcomed the little creature into his home, vowing to provide a life of care and love. Charlie, once a tiny bundle of trembling fear, now bounded around with a wagging tail and a heart full of trust. Together, they began a new chapter, a family brought together by the depths of despair. As Ryan pondered the strange and beautiful alliance between himself, the leopard, and Charlie, he marveled at the universality of compassion. It wasn't confined by species, it thrived in moments of shared vulnerability. This ordeal had taught him the vastness of empathy, a lesson as deep as the well itself. On a quiet evening, Ryan found himself walking by the well once more. The place that had once loomed with darkness and fear now stood as a silent tribute to courage and unexpected connections. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a warm glow over the land. Ryan lingered for a moment, carrying with him the indelible memories, the wisdom gained, and a heart forever broadened by the extraordinary events that had unfolded there. "Who would have thought," Ryan whispered, "that a leopard, a puppy, and I would find something in each other, buried beneath all that fear?" That, the story, is a powerful one, don't you? Ryan's courage, the trust between him and the leopard, and the compassion he showed to the helpless pup are things that can inspire us all. That being said, I want to give a little warning. This kind of situation where you're putting yourself at risk to save a wild animal is not something we should try without professional help. So, what do you think? Could you have acted like Ryan in that moment? Or do you think it was too risky? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And, as always, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to share it with your friends. Let's keep this conversation going. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.